Shalom Aleichem, I am Yisachar Wertel. I wanted to speak to you about a couple inyanim about Shabbos, which I feel are very important. So Shabbos, as you know, is a very special time that we really look forward to all week, right? The time to spend with the family, time to get a shluf, time to eat, time to indulge, but it's also a time for amazing spiritual growth and spiritual enlightenment, to reconnect with Hashem. And, you know, a lot of people pay attention to the Kiddush Friday night, right? It's the beginning of Shabbos, it's the inception of Shabbos, and you feel this amazing Kedusha, hopefully filling the air, hopefully it's not too chaotic. You're really starting to feel, you know, you said Kabbalah Shabbos, you daven, you feel the Shabbos coming in, and it's amazing, and you say the Kiddush, and you have a lot of kavanah, right? And, you know, sometimes the kids sing along, it's beautiful. Shabbos day, on the other hand, is sometimes taken for granted. Now, yes, Shabbos day is a Kiddush D'Rabbanan as opposed to D'Oraisa, but it still has an important chashivas. It still has a very important aspect to it. You know, you're still inherently sanctifying the day. It's an inherently big mitzvah of Shabbos to have a second meal on Shabbos. So there's a big important problem that I've noticed, right? When people are making the Kiddush, aside from the fact that they're not necessarily paying attention, they're also not necessarily paying attention to the words in which they're saying when they're making Kiddush. We have the words, we have the phrase, ot hi liolam, or as some people would say, os hi liolam. But many people say osi or ot, which would mean me, which doesn't make any sense. So you have to make sure that you say ot hi liolam or os hi liolam. You have to make that distinction. Now, why is that so important? Right? I mean, we have to be careful about everything we say, and of course it's not easy. So why this particular distinction? Why am I focusing solely on this? This is a lot bigger and important of a phrase than you know. It actually teaches one of the fundamental concepts of Shabbos. So every time that we have a mistake that we know about, we obviously have an obligation to fix it, and we have to strive to do better. But here we'll be missing an entire message just in these three words, a message about the Shabbos itself. So we've been told many times throughout the ages and by our Chachamim that, and many stories that we have all heard, that more than the Jews keep Shabbos, the Shabbos keeps the Jews. And it's true on so many levels, right? Shabbos, in addition to any miraculous stories that you might have heard, Shabbos reinvigorates you physically and spiritually, right? It allows you to give time for you to physically rest and catch up from the week and physically prepare for the coming week, but it also gives you time to spiritually regroup and refresh yourself, and be able to focus on things that you might have been too busy with to focus on during the week. So the words ot hi liolam begin with the letters aleph, hey, and lamed, right? Which spells ohel, right? It's a tent, it's a covering, but it's a protection, right? Just as you go into a tent to protect you, we say ma tovu oholech Yaakov, how great are your tents, O Israel, right? We have these beautiful homes and we have this beautiful protection that HaKadosh Baruch Hu provides us if we do His will, right? And yes, maybe not everything is perfect, but there's an amazing aura about the Shabbos that will give us an inherent protection, and I'm going to explain how that works. So, what does the word ot mean, or os mean, right? It means a sign. What is a sign? So we know the word ot appears in the Torah many times. Now, it first appears by Cain, when he has the mark of the ot on his forehead, which is a symbol, a sign for him not to be killed throughout the generations. And it obviously goes a lot deeper than that, but it's essentially a finality or an eternal message. Similarly, we have the os by Noach. We have the bris olam that Hashem makes with Noach, that He will never destroy the world again, and that's an everlasting covenant, right? It's an eternal covenant. It's something that is ongoing and is permanent in a sense. Yetziat Mitzrayim, we know we have the osos and moftim, or the otot and moftim, right? The signs and wonders that Hashem, gave to the Mitzrayim as kind of like punishments, but also rewards to the Jewish people. And this whole entire thing is not something that's meant to be forgotten. In fact, we have an obligation not only to say and mention about Yetziat Mitzrayim every day, but especially on Shabbos. It's inherent in the Kiddush, it's inherent in our Tefillah. There's an inherent connection about Yetziat Mitzrayim. So Yetziat Mitzrayim, He wanted us all to go out and recognize the beauty of Hashem, right? It is and to be in the world, it's a complete and absolute promise that we are to be His people, we are to be an Am Segula. So we were able to understand this and be on the level to be able to experience these amazing nisim and niflaos, but the oath, the sign that Hashem gave us of being able to both destroy the Mitzrayim measure for measure and give us what we were deserving at the same time in terms of bracha, that's something that we can have by Shabbos, right? We can have a variety of messages where we can have our physical needs taken care of, but also our spiritual needs taken care of, right? But it's a symbol of completion, right? As we know, Hashem created the world in 6 days, but it was the 7th day that he rested. But the 7th day, it says Vayichal. Vayichal comes from the word kol, which means complete, all, right? The world was not complete until the Shabbos was made, right? The world became complete with the creation of the Shabbos. That's what Hashem actually created on the 7th day. It's not that he didn't create nothing. He had 7 days of creation. The 7th day was the creation of Shabbos, which was the completion, the takana of the world, right? Now, obviously, the world is only perfect in a certain sense because of the Ches of Adam Arishon, but that's an inyan that we have to do, right? It's perfect in the sense that Hashem made it perfect, but we have, some little fixings and little things that we have to do in order to make the world a better place. And we have to see on Shabbos, what are we doing with our lives? How are we connecting with Hashem? How are we interacting with our family? How are we doing the mitzvah? Are we keeping things properly or are we not keeping things properly? We're not busy rushing around trying to make money, doing things, checking Facebook, whatever it is, right? It's a time to slow down, sit with your family, meditate, daven, relax, and think about where you're holding with Hashem and where you're holding with other people in your life, right? So the word ot, Chazal teach, can be written as aleph v'taf. Right? It's written as an aleph and a taf, which teach you the entire spectrum of the Hebrew aleph base, from aleph to taf. Nothing is held back. It's the complete spectrum. Again, the concept of finality. We know that also Hashem completed the world on the 7th day, which was Shabbos, but the world was created with the inherent osios, the inherent 22 letters of the aleph base. So what are we doing to make the world a more perfect place? Right? We have this phrase of Oti Le'olam, which not only teaches us what to do at the beginning, but what to do at the end. As I mentioned, the first 3 letters are Aleph, Hey, and Lamed, which is Ohel. It protects us, right? It gives us a spiritual reinvigoration that we can use to bring and carry into the next week. But look at the last letters. The last letters of Ot, which is a Tav, or a Sav. We have He, which ends in an Aleph, and Le'olam, which ends in a Mem, which spells Te'em, which means a twin, or a doubling, right? Now, everything in the world is a dichotomy. Shabbos, of course, is a dichotomy itself. We have Zachor and Shamor. We have things we can't do, but things we have to do. We have it coming from the previous week in a way to reprieve and refresh ourselves from the previous week, but be able to carry it in at the beginning of next week. It's the end of the previous week, beginning of the next week. Everything in life is this, and Shabbos is one of the quintessential examples of how this works. Now, the word ot, actually I'm going to show you that all of these 3 words are actually inherent dichotomies or have a dual nature in of themselves. The word os, even though it's usually spelled with a vav, does not inherently need it, right? It could be spelled aleph tav with a dot and it'd be pronounced os, but the fact that it has a vav, right? Similarly, the word he can be spelled with a vav or a yud, right? And in this case, he is actually spelled with a vav the same way it could be pronounced as hu. We have le'olam, which is spelled without the vav, which can mean le'alem, which means to disappear, as Chazal teach us many times. Because the Shabbos is available, just as Hashem is available, to those who seek it and to those who find it. But to those who want to cast it aside and just think nothing of it, or it's just like any other day of the week, then it's hidden. You don't see it. But it's le'olam, it's there forever. It's an os hi le'olam, it's a sign forever. And you have to see it and you have to appreciate it. And once you have that there, then you're in a much better place to appreciate things. So why does Hashem need you in the world? Why does Hashem need me in the world? What does he want the Jewish people to do in the world? And why do we have to contemplate Hashem? So these last letters of Te'um, which means double, right? Which means we can look at things both ways, we can act both ways, we can accomplish positive or negative, we can go in either direction that we choose, right? It's up to us. They also spell the letters of Emes, right? Tuf, Aleph, Mem can be rearranged to form Aleph, Mem, Tuf, Emes, right? Because in truth, everything, sometimes you have to rearrange things and twist things a little bit to find it, because things might be alem, things might be hidden. But ultimately it's in the olam, which is the world. And it's an oti le'olam, it's an eternal sign that will always be there, and we have to find it. truth is easiest to find on the Shabbos, when we're not preoccupied with everything else. We can sit down and contemplate where we are and what we need to do. So when you're making Kiddush, Shabbos day, and even when you say V'shamro during Maariv, Ot Hi Le'olam, or Os Hi Le'olam, realize the importance of the Shabbos. I guarantee you, it will make things better. Thank you.